two culture at the same time.
Now we've talked about this on the
Con Gas, just like Cassandra, fresh off of a cafecito. I'm really excited to be with you guys this evening. I am also a little bit under pressure because I got recent feedbacks that my ums, I'm saying a little, not like the meditative but my ums were a little too frequent. So today I'm going to practice not saying which I thought about just saying now. So that's what's going on in my head. I'm excited to hear what's going on in yours. I've had some recent conversation on Twitter at Café con Gas, talking to some YouTubers, getting some phone guests scheduled to come in and talk to everybody about their experiences with healing and why they choose to pick YouTube as an open narrative to share their life story. So that's kind of what's going on this evening. I'm really excited to be in the studio and feeling this purple hue behind me. That was like a very, very good call on the change of background. It's really exciting. Today is really incredible because I just had a conversation. I do Café con Gas, I do emotional check-ins, I talk about healing, and it's bound to affect my own life. So this morning was really beautiful, and a book that I've mentioned before in the show called Calling in the One that I've done with Jonna is something that we started the day doing like a little book club in the morning at Algiers at a local spot in Harvard Square. That was really cute. We talked together about releasing expectations of relationships and releasing resentment, and I already saw the effects. I had a really great productive conversation today, and I'm just doing the personal work that I come to share on the show with you. I'm also doing it in my own life, so I wanted to share that. And also wanted to share a couple of resources, a couple of updates. Please remind yourselves that summer is coming, this is spring, whatever this is, and to go volunteer to plant a tree or do something for the environment. Obviously the environment is suffering right now, so let's get something together. And let's just hop into what we do best, which is our emotional check-in, and also begin with something interesting. Actually, we're gonna go to the emotional check-in today because that's the topic that we're on right now. So how are you feeling today? What's going on today? And this is like my Bob Ross inspired moment as I try to put picture in picture. There we go. All right, so how are you guys feeling today? I'm feeling pretty ecstatic and excited. I'm feeling a little bit cautious because what do you do in the face of new knowledge? You process it, and I'm feeling like a little bit like, what's going on? This is interesting. Feeling slightly cautious, feeling a little bit smug because I have finals coming up and I handed in a paper yesterday, so that's really great. Feeling a little bit shocked and shy, which is okay, but that's like my personal tip. But yeah, those emotions came out. So I also wanted to share something that I shared in a writing class. I did a workshopping class and I was writing a story in relation to talking about emotions and discovering the power of emotions. And I shared why I do this chart. And this is something that I have not shared formally with the audience of why I do emotional check-ins. Part of why I do emotional check-ins because there was a period in my life that feeling emotions was very difficult. I had a clog up, and that clog up manifested in really bad depression, debilitating depression. So what did I do? I had to talk about my feelings. And I'm thinking to myself, if the feeling that I could feel right now is that's my main feeling. I don't know how to tell you if I'm ecstatic, sad, or I don't even know what my problem is or what the root of it. So I was like going over these issues with with a professional, and I was in a therapeutic setting. And so I asked in this therapeutic setting, I said, I want a sheet. I want the kind of sheet that I got in 5th grade. I remember getting this little magnet, and this is the duplicate of the magnet that I got in 5th grade. So it was a little magnet, and it said, how are you feeling today? And I just remember in school, I just kind of brushed that off because it wasn't really something that was like reintroduced in my home, like we talked about in class. So when I came home, I was like, we did some feeling stuff in school. But anyway, so I asked for this sheet because at one point in a therapeutic setting, when someone asked me, how are you feeling today? That question usually evoked a sense of rage. And I say like rage with a smile on my face because I would say it part sarcastically, part looking back of like, wow, I overcame that because like I can say I feel this variety of emotions and I can work through emotions, and I've done a lot of therapeutic work to kind of get to the root of those so that the emotion that I feel isn't just stressed or depressed. There's something in between. So anyways, that's why I do emotional check-ins, and that's something that I really was excited to share with you all today, and something that's just very, very, very important. So again, ecstatic, sad, the emotions that we have on this sheet, I actually want to read them to you because I realize in posting them up online afterwards. You can't necessarily read them all. So here are the emotions. If you want to find them for your own, just Google emotional chart, Google mood chart. You'll find a variety of tools. But again, it's exhausted, confused, ecstatic, guilty, suspicious, angry, hysterical, frustrated, sad, confident, embarrassed, happy, mischievous, disgusted, frightened, enraged, ashamed, cautious, smug, depressed, overwhelmed, hopeful, lonely, love-struck, jealous, bored, surprised, anxious, shocked, and shy. Of course, there are many more emotions than all of those emotions that are listed there, but those are some that you guys can start with. So I would really highly recommend you, I don't want to play that yet. I would really highly recommend you to go and look at that. So again, this is a reminder. Here we are, Café con Gas. We just talked about emotions. Later, we're going to talk about a really interesting topic about emotional vampires. All right, so we've been covering on the show a couple times how to not absorb people's emotions, live from Cambridge, Massachusetts. And in doing that, we've tackled this really interesting topic, and I talked about in the last 2 shows ago when we had a really wonderful guest, how going through this exercise and doing this with you guys here on Café con Gas has helped me process different things. So this kind of led me to, now that I've learned how to not absorb other people's emotions or recognize when I do that or I'm susceptible, what can I do now? So this is a really interesting exercise that I wanted to show you. So in the name of healing arts and diversity, we're going to take a little break from all this cognitive thinking and processing and emotional talking, because the next two topics are both exciting. They're music related, but in the realm of healing arts and diversity, I usually kind of wedge in a video in the middle, but we're going to show this now because something that I've been doing recently on a healing tip and something that I would recommend for you as an exercise is to do a playlist. I have playlists for this particular moods and tasks that I need to do, and most of them are managed on YouTube, and some of them I put on Café con Gas. So this particular playlist comes from my finals playlist. I needed something that was positive and uplifting. Now, if you can understand the lyrics, it's not really positive and uplifting if your boyfriend, who is a music star, is telling you that I must go hit on other women, but the beat is really exciting. So like many different genres of music that have a really incredible beat, this is also one of those moments that I'm going to play you the song, but I'm going to say like the lyrics I don't necessarily always agree with, but that's the nature of music right now. But I'm going to play this song in the name of arts, and they're going to bring in some healing and diversity, some local news events, an interesting update of a healing arts festival that's coming up, and also end with some more difficult news. So to start this off, start our segment, I'm going to play you this song, and it's really great. It's a great soca track. Again, I talked about this. I played a bunch of songs from Nigeria around the end of the last semester. Mind you guys, I'm going to be going into the end of my semester, so you're going to hear a little bit of my playlist from studying. This is what's on it. It's by Lyrical. It's called Loner. Again, from like 2015 Soca Carnival. I played Soca before, but I also went to Trinidad. So in the name of healing arts and diversity, we're going to hop back over to the island. Because when I've been doing my work, that's what I've been just guiding myself with, like visions of the sea to get through it. So I hope you guys enjoy this track. Okay. Whoa, it's too loud. All right, enjoy. So, like, do I feel bad for him? Is he being actually sweet about it? I don't know, but this is what's going on in my finals playlist, and I'm going to make a point about the fact that it's very interesting every time that I get into, like, a deadline mode or a mode where I'm, like, in a really competitive environment. All of the music that I listen to, if I'm feeling gentle and sweet, it's kind, it's soft, but then I get into, like, a lot of music from, like, rappers. We're talking about a lot of Lil Wayne, some Drake. We're talking about some really, like, masculine, like, not so much Azealia Banks, but I was going through my playlist, which I also have, and I'll show you guys, like, right now on cafeconcas.com. But I put this on my playlist, and I was listening to this, and I love this. And like I said, I love the soca beat, and it's really fresh. But when I get into finals mode, yeah, what I have to play is really rough. It's really interesting. So anyways, I have a couple playlists if you guys want to check on Café con Gas at YouTube. And I think you should really check that out, and I think that you would really enjoy that. So the next topic that we're talking about on the topic of diversity, I'm pulling this up right now, is a really difficult topic. So again, we're talking emotions. We did our emotional check-in. We celebrated a little bit to kind of like keep the party going on the inside. We're tackling some other issues. I had an interesting week because 3 things happened. One thing happened, I was in a critique and I was talking about Puerto Rico. I was in a writing critique, talking about a personal essay, and it was just really interesting because again, the classroom setting that I was in, I was, it was predominantly white. I was with one of 3 women of color. So it was really interesting. And, again, after that particular class, I always kind of leave and I need to decompress. I need to talk with a fellow classmate of mine, and we talk about how different things are perceived by different cultures, and a lot of class issues come up. So anyways, in that conversation and in between writing this book and also doing Café con Gas and other things, I've been reassessing my relationship with Facebook and on Facebook a little bit. So in doing that, I opened my Facebook page after a couple months that I took a break from Facebook to mostly write this book proposal that I've been working on and do my other schoolwork. I took a break from Facebook, and I've been getting a lot of tags and posts from a really good friend of mine. She's a really incredible scholar. So I got this post, and this I just have to take a moment and really just talk about. And we're gonna just do, we're just gonna do this. And this is, so I saw this article not once but twice, and it's about Columbia University and how they have banned workers from speaking Spanish. This is a really, not interesting, but este es un topic que significa, es bien profundo, and además, we came from Puerto Rico and we migrated into New York City. And there's a lot of class issues going on, but there's still a lot of racism going on and in many cities and across America. But there were 2 things that struck me on the news. One thing is that Yale University had 0 students except for their graduate program and in Portuguese and Spanish. I thought that was interesting. And then this happened, and this is by Corey Robin. And there's a formal statement as well. But Columbia University has a renowned department of Latin American Iberian cultures. The Spanish language written and spoken is clearly prized by Columbia University unless you're a worker. According to a petition being circulated by Columbia Dining Workers, it is a petition by the Columbia Dining Workers against Columbia Dining's arbitrary and racist policies. Now, this really, this brings up a lot because, this brings up a lot. So, there was an orientation in 2004. And then their executive director, Vicki Dunn, banned workers from speaking in Spanish in the presence of students sitting at tables in Butler Lounge to eat on their break. And they must sit in a nearby closet. And then it goes on to the demands. And I'll keep reading. All right. So it's just difficult. It's just a difficult topic because this is racism. Racism exists. I've had shows where we've talked about innocent young black men getting shot. I've had shows talking about institutionalized racism. I've had shows talking about the history of racism. But this is something that is also an example from a different sector of society that racism still exists and is alive and well. Vicki Dunn, this particular manager, claimed Both of these rules stemmed from student complaints about dining hall workers speaking in Spanish and taking up table space, erroneously implying that workers should not be sitting down during their legally contracted break. Since August, workers have found Dunn and Columbia manager Hazel Clark standing behind the cafe attempting to catch workers speak Spanish. Early April 2015, Hazel Clark tells Butler lounge workers that a student complained about trash being kept outside the lounge area. Responding to this complaint, Clark ordered that workers move the trash to the closet, where they were also expected to sit while eating. On April 13th, 2015, SWS members sent an email to Vicki Dunn expressing concerns about workers eating in the closet where the trash was kept and scheduled a meeting to discuss the issue. In response to the email, Dunn emails Butler Lounge management rescinding the rule that workers should eat in the closet. On April 15th, SWS members meet with Columbia Dining Hall administration, who claim not to know what the closet rule is, that they do not confirm or deny the prohibition on speaking Spanish, but cite student complaints in justifying rules against workers talking amongst themselves. Demands. So here's the petition, and this is, so here are the stated facts of what has happened, the events that transpired to create this petition, and then the demands. Demands. Columbia's Dining appears to have temporarily reversed the closet rule but continues to discriminate against workers for speaking Spanish. They must cease that immediately. We as students demand that Columbia administration stop using individual student complaints to justify racist and degrading policies such as the prohibition of specific languages and the regulation of workers to cramped and unsanitary spaces. Workers ask from now on all new new policies must be written down, publicly visible, and negotiated with their union so as to prevent from abuses. Quote, if it wasn't for us, they wouldn't be racking in thousands of dollars a day from Columbia Dining Services. They need to treat us differently. Another anonymous Columbia Dining worker. So this was a very intense petition and topic, and it's the kind of topic where this is something that people face when they speak different languages. And this is something that I know that I've been told in a job that I will not name, but I've been told on the clock while being paid, we can't understand, you don't speak Spanish, and that was very casual, and it wasn't eating in a closet. But it was also really disconcerting. So SWS is the Student Worker Solidarity Group, so it's a really great organization run by students on this issue, and it's just something that I'm very sad to report on, and it's something that's really interesting in the fact that students have also organized to help workers, and also that the union is behind them. So again, it's just that insight with other Yale news, it's a hard day for universities. And it's just an example of racism that still exists and unfortunately is very close to us. So I wanted to say, to kind of wrap up that topic, something that's really interesting when I do the show, when I watch nightly news, I watch and I'm like, how can this person just report on something that's really traumatic and awful and not process it? Obviously, I'm sitting here at my desk and I'm processing it in front of you, but I hope that the shock that I have that it's still happening is something to think about, because I think there's one thing, it just sits to a wound, because language is culture, and I think the Spanish culture, if you like taco trucks, if you like Mexico, if you celebrate Cinco de Mayo, but you won't allow and celebrate people in their face celebrating culture through the use of language, but you'll buy all the products and you'll drink Coronas and you'll go, appropriate other items from culture. I just think that it's really problematic, and I think that it's something that I'm glad that the students are organizing, but I think it's really sad that this is still happening. And I'm sure not just with Spanish speakers, but with other cultures. So that's that. From Columbia. So I'll keep you posted on what is done and how that petition circulates. So on another note, the next topic that I have for you guys in the realm of healing is a really interesting topic. I've talked about energy. All right, I've talked about emotions, I've talked about breathing, I've talked about circulation with breath, and I have this really cool topic that I wanted to bring to you thanks to one of our special viewers who I talk to often. It's called energy vampires. So this is something that I want to talk about, And this is a really interesting topic. So I've talked to you, and we've gone down like how, let's just pull this up. This looks familiar, right? How to not stop absorbing other people's emotions with the ridiculous animation, you know, identifying where you're susceptible, right? So if you're identifying where you're susceptible, but now you just feel like you just have this icky, toxic relationship, what can you do to really transform that? And what do you do when you feel like someone's sucking that from you? So the first thing I wanted to show you, this really cool clip. I was having this conversation recently, and I'm just gonna pull this up, and I'm actually gonna, there you go. Okay, I'm gonna pull this up without pulling it all the way up. All right, so I'm gonna bring you to this clip, and I'm gonna introduce it this way. So I'm gonna introduce you first to an interview, and it's a really, really short clip between a hold on one second. Oh, shoot. Hold on one second. I just lost it on the computer. No. Okay, so Jill Taylor wrote this. Thank you. Sorry for your patience. Thank you for your patience. All right. Jill Taylor wrote this book called My Circle of Insight. She was a neuroscientist who suffered from a stroke. And even though she couldn't talk, she knew exactly what was going on with her and exactly what parts of the brain that were shutting down. And she has this really incredible quote about how she wanted to be treated as people were entering the patient room, as people were entering the room to treat her. And so she talks about how like part of her brain shut down, so really all that she could see were energy patterns and colors and lights. And to the regular viewer, she essentially was, a part of her brain had, like a part of her speech had gone, but another part of her brain had heightened. So essentially she was just perceiving the world the way that many of us do not see it on a regular basis. So this is what she says about energy, and I'll preface with this clip.
Is that repeatedly different people came in to do the same thing. And that one of the first things that you learned was that hospitals should be about conserving a patient's energy instead of taking it away.
Exactly. Yeah, I learned that there are two kinds of people on the planet. People who bring you energy or people who take your energy away. And that was all I had at that point. So I had this precious little reservoir, and if someone was going to come and interact with me, I needed them to bring me themselves. I needed them to look me in the eye and to touch me and to just bring their hope and their energy to me as opposed to taking energy away.
No, I love this. This is going to be one of my favorite quotes of all time now. I really need people to take responsibility for the kind of energy they bring to me.
So that was the quote that I really wanted to bring to you guys, and I thought that was just so powerful. And I was talking about energy, we're talking about how to not absorb other people's emotions, we're talking about emotional check-ins that let you get to know yourself better. So now what is the other piece? And is asking people, you need to be responsible for the energy that you're bringing me, which I think is a really powerful message, because it's not all about you. Sometimes it's just saying like, hey, you need to be responsible and making other people cognizant, and also having a little bit more of a dialogue and an openness to how feelings are exchanged and how those affect other people. And it's not just logically. I think there's a lot to say about the power of negative emotions. So I'm gonna post this on Café con Gas's Facebook so you guys can look at it. We're running out of time today. I'm feeling wonderful, happy, but totally rushed for tonight's program, so I'm going to put this online. I wanted to talk about this in greater length, but I wanted to just bring this up. Sorry. Dr. Judith Orloff has this article, and it talks about what is an energy vampire. And it talks about how when we're at our best, we're really exchanging positive energy. And in contrast, people who, we could not be at our best, but we could also have people who are there to suck the life out of us. I mean, everybody in colloquial terms or day-to-day life, you either have that relative or that friend when every time they come around the corner, you're like, oh my gosh, I can't. They're just gonna like take all this energy from me. But then you have friends who come along and something always good happens afterwards, and you leave and you get that free cup of coffee, or you go out to the bar and you get like something, I don't know, something happens and it's like a little point of synchronicity. So in contrast to those people who have a lot of positive energy on you, there's also people who suck you dry, and those are energy vampires. That's a really nice way, really easy way to kind of visualize someone here to suck your blood, take your soul. But there are exercises that you can do to prevent that. How to not absorb other people's emotions is really a good one, because then you learn how to not absorb negative emotions. And then this little exercise at the end of this article that I'll post says, take an inventory of people in your life who give you energy and people who drain you. Specifically identify them and evaluate the ones you can limit your time with. And one afternoon, and you can and one you can limit your time with. And just play around with that. Plan at least one complete afternoon with people who give you positive energy, and avoid the drainers, and notice how this affects your life. So take a little inventory of your personal life and figure out the people in your life those people who really give you energy, nurture those relationships, and the people you don't, like, eventually they'll just fade out. And, you'll just keep doing you and do your emotional check-in and